you don't use that budgetary reserve throughout the year, yeah, that's gonna, you can either A, move it to capital reserve, or it would add to the fund balance. But outside of that, we really,
But we said we needed it. We said we needed to get from 4.8 to 7.7 in 2 years. Where does this budget bring us to that goal?
Well, I would say a couple things to that. Where we end up this year, now that the budget is passed, we think we're going to end up in the black again and do fairly decent. Okay, so let's say that that's $1 million. So we split the difference and put 500 in capital reserve and 500 in fund balance, or all in the fund balance or whatnot. We know we have 1.5 coming from the sale of Asbury Woods that will be booked for this year. That's a decision we're going to have to talk about, but I would rather wait until we're sitting on that money to come to you and say, okay, where do you want to put the money, fund balance or capital reserve? Because we have a difference of opinion of it just between the two of us. I would say let's get it to the fund balance, get that fund balance where it needs to be, and then whatever comes in over and above that in the upcoming 2 or 3 years, we're going to put that into the capital reserve account. I don't know that we haven't budgeted. Did we have a line item in the budget for capital reserve in this?
yes, 200,000.
Okay.
And that was part of me going, as a $600,000 here is a pretty big step for our basic ed subsidy. That was kind of our safe hole, a little bit safeguarding ourselves there, where if you get it, okay, we're starting a capital reserve. If we don't get it, you don't spend it. I mean, we're not allocating it out to spend anyhow. So we did have $200,000 in for a capital reserve, and I would like to add to that is we have Wegmans. Also, that which we're waiting on the appeal to hear what the judgment was for that, for which we would use to capital reserve and fund balance between the two. And so all these different one-time chunks of money, yes, they will be added to build the fund balance and the capital reserve. However, you're exactly right. From a structural standpoint, we have to be able to either continue to put money in capital reserve while you spend it down, and our expenditures are going to continue to climb, which means your fund balance needs to continue to climb. So from a structural standpoint, our budget should include those two line items in there.
It hasn't, and it's been a problem. I think it should. I don't know what the right number is. But I
For the
think we
capital
gotta
reserve?
start- Yeah,
For
and
capital
fund balance.
reserve.
I mean, maybe it's not as much.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, but we should have a line item to say we're going to add to it as part of the budget.
Yeah,
And if other things happen, fine.
Yeah, I think, we have 2 buildings out there too that we're trying to sell. And, he and I have been banking on the buildings, the Wegmans, the Asbury Woods, to be those one-time chunks of money that come into the district and we go, okay, fund balance or capital reserve.
And how about Erie County Tech? I mean,
I am not Houdini.
Well, I know, but,
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we're not addressing it in this budget.
No, we're not.
Okay.
No, we're not. I don't know, he and I haven't really had a chance to talk about it, so I'll throw this out in front of everybody, because I've thought about it 100 times. I would think we would have to probably go to the bank and look to do something on a short term to do what we have to do. Or, if things continue to go the way they are with our expenses, next year is the last big peak year for Peasers. The year after that, we get a little help. And if we can, because I think when we looked at it from a budget, wasn't it 300,000 a year?
No, it would be more than that, but you're right. For example, it jumped 4% this year. They projected to jump like 2% for the next 2 years, and then 1% for the years after that. So you do see our Peaser contribution is cut in half. We said, what, 1 million here. $500,000 would be our contribution for the following year.
Yeah, I was talking about the yearly cost for the VOTEC, if we borrow that 10 million, or if we had to make the payment over 10 years, which is what they were looking at. I thought it was $299
No,
or
you're right.
$300,000.
I think if we extended it 15 years, I think
Yeah,
roughly is what
right.
we're looking at, would be 300,000. And that's for the VOTEC to go out and issue bonds, and then we're responsible, obviously, for our portion of that.
I think that's still under,
Well, it is.
budget.
I keep saying no.
But the good news is we're in control of it.
We are, we are. Yes, we
Vote
are.
tax
Yeah, we're in control.
cost, that's supposed to be about $30 million total, that's what the figure?
It was 27. I think they're back to 27, I believe. But, you know, in all fairness, it's a great program. There's a lot of kids that take advantage of it, and they need the help because their building is in the same shape as McDowell, so we get it.
With regards to their renovation, how exactly is that gonna work? They're gonna borrow the money, VOTEC, on a bond, and then we contribute towards their payments?
At different meetings, Mr. Pike, we've had several different discussions on that. You know, should the home schools, you know, not only us, but should they go after bonds and then we just contribute? Should they go after a bond and just like you said, we contribute to that? I think that's still up in the air to see what the best, you know, at the time that it would happen, you know, then they're gonna get serious about going out and trying to figure out what the best way is for all the districts.
And they may be postponing because I know they were counting on PlanCon, and PlanCon payments are being postponed. So I don't know where that's gonna be either.
I've got a question. What you presented tonight, is this the option 4 that we had talked about? I mean, the first 3 options are still on the table, and then we now have this one, which you've come to by being more aggressive in your planning out. Then you were able to work through an option 4, which essentially would save Montessori. Is
Yes.
that what this one does?
Yes, and don't forget, we didn't have the budget either from the state. We were giving you the 3 options.
And then, well, my next question is, going forward, as we know our costs are going up year after year, what is the likelihood we're going to be back here next year, the same people in the audience saying we might have to cut this?
Very likely.
Okay.
And keep in mind that your options here, I mean, we showed you that last slide, but we're at 1.8 million. You pick and choose.
Right.
Any want a tax increase all the way to the 1.8 million? You can look at that.
Is there a reason why, let's say hypothetically, we could vote on alternate ed tonight, or you wait?
You don't have to vote on all that tonight, because that's a done deal anyway. We're gonna,
Was with me, but I don't know what everybody else, I just.
yeah. No, we don't have to vote on all that tonight. We just need you to let us know where you're at with that tax increase. If you cover the $1 million with the tax increase, which we think is a fair compromise, it protects all those programs, including Montessori. It does infuse some revenue through a reasonable tax increase. It does not take it to the Act 1 index, which I think demonstrates to our taxpayers out there that we're being pretty fiscally responsible. And it maintains everything. And again, I hate to, you know, I don't mean to put the Montessori folks back in front of us in a year or so, but we can't predict what's going to happen in another year. And again, we're going to be back here next year looking at the same thing, salaries, PSERS, benefits. Although our benefits are flatlining, which is encouraging. PSERS should drop, and you know, your salaries, it's a human service organization, that's what we have every year. If we have to look at a program, we would look at the program that affects the least amount of kids. I know that's not fair to them, I get it, but
I would like to say that in order to have a proposed final budget for next week, we are going to need some sort of guidance on where to go. I would ideally, I mean, me personally, I would like to be able to have a pretty concrete idea of what I need to do to balance this budget, whether you wanted to say it's these programs and then use the difference in a tax increase. And I think that that's more transparent as well, because we do have to publicly advertise that budget. Or if we need to, at the worst case scenario, is we make that decision next week and then we have to approve the proposed final the following.
Mr. O'Toole, I have a couple of questions. By the way, I spent Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in Harrisburg, and I met with Senators Fulmer, Eichenberger, and Scott Wagner. And both Eichenberger and Fulmer are on the Senate Education Committee.